Hello and welcome back. Thank you for joining me again. Today we're here to dismantle the invisible barriers that prevent you from reaching a state of total high performance living. True greatness is never built on a foundation of hidden resentment or unhealed wounds. Unforgiveness, you see, is a weight that slows your progress and clouds your judgment at every critical turn. It acts like a heavy anchor tethering you to events and people that are no longer in your present reality. To move forward with speed and a clearer vision, you must release 4 specific groups from the prison of your mind. The most significant wounds often occur in the environment where we should have felt the most secure. You must forgive your parents for every mistake, real or imagined, that they made while raising you as a child. This act of forgiveness heals deep trauma by breaking the cycle of blame, of perpetual victimhood. Realise that they were likely doing the best that they could with the limited tools that they had from their own history. By forgiving them, you stop being a victim of your upbringing and you start being the sole architect of your character. You take back the power that they unwittingly held over your emotional state for all these years. Next, you must forgive everybody else who has ever hurt, disappointed, or betrayed you along the way. This is not a gift for their benefit. This is an act of radical self-care designed entirely for you. Holding a grudge is like drinking a poison and waiting for the other person to die. When you forgive others, you refuse to let them live rent-free in your mind a single moment longer. You grow from this by developing emotional maturity and a sense of powerful high-status detachment. You recognise that their actions were a reflection of their own struggles and reclaim the energy that you've spent on bitterness. Perhaps, though, the most difficult step is to forgive yourself for every failure or poor choice that you have ever made. We're often our own harshest critics, carrying a burden of guilt that prevents us from taking bold new risks. When you forgive yourself, you stop the internal civil war that drains your executive function and focus. You acknowledge that you were doing the best that you could at the time with the maturity that you then possessed. This release allows you to view your past as a school rather than a courtroom where you're always on trial. It fosters a sense of peace, and that is the primary requirement for a life of sustained excellence and impact. Finally, you must learn to offer a sincere apology to those that you have wronged through your own past actions. A true apology requires you to take full responsibility without making any excuses or shifting the blame to others. This allows others the opportunity to forgive you, which clears the path for healthy and reciprocal relationships. It removes the nagging feeling of unfinished business and aligns your current actions with your highest values. By completing these 4 acts of forgiveness, you create a blank slate for the future that you are building. You move from a state of reaction to a state of creation, where you are defined strictly by your own goals. The forgiveness letter is a surgical tool that we use to remove the identity of the victim from your own soul. These letters are for your benefit alone, and you don't ever have to send them to the other party. Their purpose is to remove trauma from out of your body and onto the page where it can be finally dealt with. For each category, use a simple 3-part framework to ensure the process of release is thorough and complete. Part 1 is the honest statement, where you name the specific event that caused the original pain. Use this phrase: I'm writing to address the time that you, followed by a direct name and a description of the hurt. This, you see, uses radical acceptance to acknowledge reality without downplaying the impact that it had on your growth. Part 2 is the release of the debt, where you state you are no longer seeking an apology or any payback. Write down, I am releasing you from the debt that I feel you owed me, as I no longer require you to change. This really works. This shifts your locus of control back to yourself and away from the person who caused you the harm. Part 3 is the declaration of autonomy, where you describe how you will live now the weight is gone. You will write, because I have forgiven this, I'm free to focus on my growth, and this story no longer defines me. This turns a wound into a marker of independence and proves that you have mastered your own life story. For parents, acknowledge that they were once children who may have been hurt by their own difficult environment. Write down, I forgive you for not being the parents that I needed, and I accept you as the people that you were. When writing to yourself, use the third person to create the necessary emotional distance for healing. You will write, I forgive you for past mistakes. You are learning, and I will not punish you any longer. For the apology, take 100% responsibility without offering a single excuse for your behaviour. You will write, I am sorry for my actions, and I hope this allows you some measure of peace and closure. The final act of radical self-care is the ritual of completion, where you physically let the letter go. Safely burn or shred the paper to signal to your subconscious that the protocol is done, it's complete. To live a life of excellence, you must understand that the most dangerous role is that of the victim. The victim identity is a suit of armour that eventually becomes a straitjacket for your potential. It feels safe because it absolves you of responsibility, but it also robs you of your inherent power. When you identify as a victim, your entire life becomes reaction to what was done to you by other people. While you're busy being right about your suffering, you're losing the opportunity to build your future. And as long as you hold on to a grudge, the person who hurt you is still in charge of your current emotional state. They're the puppet master. And your resentment is the strings that they're pulling to control your every move. Forgiveness is the act of cutting these strings so you can move your own limbs with freedom. You see, we often hold on to pain because it gives us a sense of moral superiority or an excuse for our failures. If I'm broken, I don't have to try. If I'm wronged, I'm entitled to my bitterness. The forgiveness letter forces you to confront this secondary gain and release the excuse forever. By releasing the debt, you're admitting that your life is entirely up to your own choices. This can be terrifying, but it's the only state in which true high-status growth can ever occur. When you forgive yourself, you dismantle the internal prosecutor that consistently replays your failures. By documenting your mistakes and explicitly forgiving them, you finally integrate your own shadow. It works. You stop the civil war within your own mind, which frees up mental energy for your highest possible goals. The apology is the ultimate act of dismantling the ego, which always wants to be right at any cost. By taking responsibility, you prove that your identity is no longer tied to being perfect or flawless. You've done the work, cleared the wreckage, and stepped into the sunlight of the present moment. You are not what happened to you. You are who you choosing to become starting from this second. To ensure progress is measurable, focus on tangible shifts in your immediate social environment. A creator solves a current problem while a victim stays trapped in a fight with a ghost from the past. Efficient conflict and firm boundaries prove that your internal healing is actually working in the real world. True self-care is a quiet fence, not a loud wall with defensive rage and constant explanations. Check for any unfinished business, because a clean slate is your most valuable asset as a leader. Zero debt of resentment means you've achieved the freedom that was required for high-performance living. Just do one thing today that the old version of you was far too afraid to even consider. This reinforces your new identity as a sole author of your life and your ultimate destiny. You're now the master of your own signal and the creator of your own lasting peace. True status is found in the integrity of your character and the ability to let things go. Walk forward with a lighter spirit and a mind focused entirely on the excellence of your future. This is the clear path to the new future that you want today. And as somebody who has walked this path for many years, believe me when I tell you, it works. Thank you for joining me again, guys. I love our time together. If you've enjoyed the content again today, guys, and you think this could potentially benefit somebody else, please think about sharing this with them. This is how I keep bringing this content to you. You take care, you stay blessed. Because, my friends, this is the way. Namaste.